A few months ago, I made a video reviewing every film represented by a killer in Dead by Daylight. I casually threw the Castlevania anime in there, almost as an afterthought. But there are other characters in the game who don't have movies. They have TV shows instead. And there are some whose films I didn't get round to watching. But they also have TV shows. So we've got a part 2, TV edition! Oh, and once again, I'd like to reiterate, these are all worth watching for yourself, and my short reviews of them may not do them justice. I hope you enjoy, once again in chronological order of when I watched them. Having only considered killers in the last episode, I wanted to include survivors in this one. I actually watched this series while editing the last video, so my memory of it is somewhat hazy. However, I can say that I very much enjoyed watching the show while eating my breakfast. Not having played the most recent Tomb Raider games, I was missing some context for the characters, however I don't think this was a major detriment to the show. The main characters were very fun, and I very much liked Jonah, Camilla and Zip. However, the bizarre, totally not sapphic, relationship between Lara, Camilla and Sam confused me a bit. It felt like they were setting up Camilla to be a love interest until the very final scene. Regardless, I felt it was a strong series of television. I wish I had the time to commit to playing through some Resident Evil games, because I do not think this show did the franchise justice. A pretty weak entry point into the series. The show follows Leon Kennedy, and to some degree Claire Redfield, though I think her role was too limited. The plot felt rushed and messy, and to be honest, Leon wasn't a very interesting of a character. The villain was somewhat interesting, but his motives didn't make the most sense. So, I haven't watched any of the Evil Dead movies, so I went into this show without knowing all too much about Ash Williams. And my god, is he a prick. He's a fun character, for sure, but wow, is he a terrible guy. The rest of the cast, very fun. Likeable characters all around. I watched the first season and enjoyed it well enough, though truthfully, I'm not motivated to watch any more of it. Perhaps I'll get round to it eventually, but to be honest, I'm more interested in watching the original films than continuing the show. I went into this show dubious, but there's a reason it's so popular. I am hooked. I've only watched season 1 so far, but I'm certain I'll watch more once I've finished reviewing these. Over the years, I've seen a lot of stills and references to the later seasons of the show, but I don't feel like I've seen the 4 main boys in anything outside of season 1, maybe 2. So, I'm curious as to how the show will shift focus away from them. Steve and Jonathan interest me. I thought their characterizations in this season were a little strange, but I like them both and anticipate more from them. Nancy became a lot more likeable throughout the season, and is probably one of my favourite characters, aside from the Demogorgon itself. My friends do tell me the later seasons are better, and once again I feel myself dubious, but I am excited to see what they have in store. I initially wasn't planning on adding anything for season 2 to this, but I wanted to quickly mention how much the organisation of the antagonistic force reminded me of Alien in these 2 seasons. The Demogorgon is hardly comparable to the Xenomorph on its own, but their hive mind nature under a queen or mind flayer does draw some comparisons, especially when you realise Alien features just one Xenomorph. Season 1 of Strange Things has one Demogorgon, whereas Alien has many Xenomorphs and a queen, and Season 2 of Stranger Things has many Demodogs and a mind flayer controlling them. Not a criticism or accusation of copying, merely an interesting note. Every single person I've heard talk about this show has called it the anime with only one good season, which somewhat puts into question my strategy of watching one season per show so far. Having little faith in the subsequent seasons makes the ending of season 1 all the more disappointing. There's no conclusion. It ends with an epic fight, but there's no denouement. because it doesn't really feel like the end of a story arc. Hanaki gets a comfortable conclusion to his character arc, but the overall narrative is left in a weird stasis. Normally this wouldn't be a massive deal, but it's handled clunkily, and the knowledge that later seasons are lackluster doesn't help the issue. Otherwise, I think the show was pretty good. I can't complain about the action, and I found the characters quite compelling. There was a character death that nearly brought tears to my eyes, and another fake out that I think would have made me cry had it been real. This video covered most of the licenses I missed in the last. However, there are still some I missed, especially if you include cosmetic collabs. You know what that means? You gotta let me know if you want a sequel! As for the shows, I found most of them pretty entertaining. Only one stood out as uninteresting at worst. I might give the season 2 a go for some of the shows, but otherwise I think it's unlikely, to be honest. Be sure to check these shows out if they interest you, and hey, why not like and subscribe to me for more content like this? Ta-ta!